Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So for this video, I'm going to be reviewing a watch from the micro brand Orion. Now from what I understand, this company is a one-man show. A gentleman named Nick started off modding a lot of watches as a bit of a side hustle, and then it actually got him through watchmaker school. So he's based in the US, and he's put out a couple of very unique and well-spec'd watches on his website. One being a Calamity dive watch, and the other one being the Hellcat, which is this gorgeous burgundy field watch that I'm going to be reviewing in this video. Now I haven't seen too many reviews for this particular watch just yet. I actually happened to acquire it by being put on the review list. A good friend of mine named Hacking Seconds on Instagram actually got this watch lent to him for some watch photography, and then he passed it along to me for this review. So after this video, we will be returning the watch to the owner. I'm not hanging on to it. I just wanted to let you guys know that before going into the full review. Now my initial impressions of this watch are quite good. I really love the burgundy dial on this watch. It's got really nice dimensions, and the leather strap is really good. I will note that for the one that was lent in, the strap is a little short for my 19 centimeter or about 7.5 inch wrist. But if you guys do order this watch through his website, you can actually select the strapped length. So if you have anything over 7 inches, I recommend ordering a large leather strap. Now these watches do come in at $600 US, which is a little pricey for micro brands that share similarly designed field watches. So is this price worth it in the end? Well, let's flip perspectives and I'll show you the in-depth review. Okay guys, so you can see I have the Orion Hellcat here in my studio. Let's start off with some specs, shall we? Case dimensions, let's do that, because very nice proportions for this watch. Case diameter, 39 millimeters. Flipping this watch to the side, you have a wingspan from here to here of 47 millimeters lug to lug. Case thickness is very thin, 10.5 millimeters to a relatively flat sapphire crystal. And then the lug opening here for this beautiful handmade leather strap is 20 millimeters. So I do think a large number of wrist sizes can definitely pull this watch off. Now let's move in and talk about what really drew me into this timepiece, and that's that beautiful burgundy dial. You can see, depending on how the light catches it, it's got this nice radial sunburst pattern on it, and everything on the color scheme I think works very well. You have very nicely printed on Roman numerals for the hour markings in white, and you also have white syringe style hour and minute hands with a nice orange or gold tipped second hand, and that gold tip matches the printing for Orion and Hellcat on the dial, as well as the minute track, which I really appreciate the design of. You can see that there's actually 5-minute intervals on the minute track where you either have filled in burnt orange or you have more of a classic railroad style minute track. And the execution on this is done really well. Also on the dial, I like the integration of a date aperture at the 6 o'clock position. Not only does it keep the symmetry a little bit better, I found, I like how the cutout, it just steps down to a very nice white date disc, and you can see they have very crisp black printing on the date wheel. So again, protecting this dial, you do get a sapphire crystal. I'm not aware if it does have anti-reflective application applied to it, but I do find it's very reflective for the model that was sent to me, especially when you're outdoors. It's just, at certain angles, it's hard to read the text. Now, powering this watch, you do have a Miyota 9015 movement, which is a high beat movement ticking away at 4 Hertz. So you can see that nice smooth sweep on the seconds hand. You have about a 42-hour power reserve, 24 joules, and it's manual wind and hacking. So if I unscrew this crown, which is screwed down and knurled really well, you can manually wind the movement, no problem. Popping it out is your quick date set function, and then if I pull it all the way out, you can stop the seconds hand here and then just quickly adjust the time however you like. Pushing it back in restarts the second hand, and rethreading the crown is very easy. And because it is a screw down crown, it affords this watch 100 meters of water resistance, which is a really good depth rating for a field watch like this. And I'll just mention as well, this dial does offer better visibility in low light situations. All of the hour markers have BGW9 applied to it, so it luminesces blue. But the hour and minute hand actually have green superluminova applied to them. So let me actually show you a low light shot of the dial for this watch, and you can actually see that the minute and hour hand actually luminesce green quite bright, whereas the blue BGW9 on the Roman numerals don't glow as brightly, but it does last for a decent amount of time. Now let's move on and talk about case finishing, which is done to a very high level. First off, you can see that the outer, I guess the fixed bezel here, is done in a very high polish, and the sapphire crystal is integrated very well to the top of that bezel. You can see that there's a really nice brushing on the flanks of the case, and you have polished bevels that transition to the top of the lugs. The lugs themselves are nicely brushed on the tops. And then you can also see the crown, which on the side is done in a very high polish with the Orion logo. Knurling and texture on the crown is done very well. And check out the case back. It's done in high polish, and it just has a printed Orion constellation on the back. So it's something different. Another thing that's kind of different is they affix the case back to the head of the watch with screws instead of actually screwing it down. And another highlight I want to mention is this leather strap that it comes on. It's handmade and the execution is very nice. Look how thick it is at the head of the watch, and then it tapers down. So you actually have like a 20 mil strap at the head of the watch. I think it tapers down to about 18. Very nice stitching. I mean, just look at the edging on it too. They didn't really cut any corners. And then on the back, you kind of have a very nice supple texture to it as well. Now, I do want to mention this watch was lent in to other reviewers, so it's already worn in a fair bit, but it's very comfortable to wear. And then let me show you the buckle too, because I'm really impressed by that. You can see that there's actually an Orion logo on the bottom of the buckle, but just look at the finishing on the buckle too. Nice polished bevel there, a nice curvature, and even the pin portion of the buckle is substantial. Here's a quick wrist shot of the Orion Hellcat on my 7.5-inch wrist. And I love how it sits. It's actually very comfortable on wrist, very low in profile, and it's been keeping excellent time as well. So are there any negative aspects to this timepiece? I think the one that bothered me the most was how reflective the crystal is. And it also might be the combination of that burgundy dial. I just find it's not that legible in outdoor lighting under certain angles. But if you look at this watch straight on, it's quite easy to tell the time. And I suppose the only other negative I can think of is the price point, which is $600. Which, don't get me wrong, I do think it's warranted, given how well designed this watch is, the finishing, and even the leather strap. But there's so many micro brands out there that offer similar specs in a field watch, probably for $100 cheaper. If you're looking for something that wears very similar and has similar dimensions, you could kind of also look at a Seiko Alpinist, or you can take a look at a Damasco DS30, the new wound up edition. I think both of those watches are good alternatives if you're not a fan of the burgundy dial. But other than that, guys, I really enjoy the execution on this watch. You don't often see a watch where you have all the color schemes working together so well. And I was a little surprised by this guy. So those are just my closing thoughts. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next video.